Have you ever walked into a room and felt your presence shrink, as if every glance measured you, every silence pressed down on your chest? Respect is a strange currency. When you don't have it, you feel invisible. When it is denied, even your loudest words echo hollow. Most people think they can buy respect with volume, with pride, with the desperate need to be heard. But the Stoics knew better. True authority does not thunder. It settles like a stone dropped into still water, rippling quietly, yet reaching every corner. I've seen it myself. Arguments that raged and died, not because someone shouted louder, but because one calm phrase cut deeper than 1,000 heated words. Respect isn't demanded by force. It's commanded by presence, by the discipline to remain composed while others unravel. So here's the question worth carrying. What if a few words, chosen with clarity, could shift how people see you forever? Stay with me, because what follows may change how you speak the next time silence demands strength. There is a moment we have all faced. You stand in a room filled with restless voices, ideas colliding like waves in a storm, and the air feels heavy with tension. Every instinct inside you urges you to prove yourself, to strike hard, to silence the other person with sheer force. But the Stoics remind us, truth does not live in shouting, and wisdom does not need noise. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." And in the same way, waste no more time proving your worth by raising your voice. Authority is not in volume, it is in presence. Now imagine standing at the family table or scrolling through endless arguments online. The test is the same. The stakes are high. Eyes scan across the table. The urge to speak burns in your chest. At this crossroads, most people fall into one of two traps. Some stay silent, telling themselves it is safer not to make enemies. Others erupt, trying to win through confrontation. Silence erases you. Confrontation consumes you. But there is a third way, the Stoic way. You lean forward, your voice steady, your eyes calm, and you begin not with hostility but with acknowledgement. I understand your point. The room shifts. That single line disarms. Defenses lower. You have touched their ego without piercing it, and then, with the same composure, you draw your boundary. But I disagree. No storm, no anger, no desperate attempt to dominate. Just a line cut in quiet steel. Seneca once wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." And here, delay becomes power. You have paused long enough to hear, to recognize, to respect, and only then, calmly, you separate. Think of how most arguments unravel, rarely because of facts, almost always because of ego. A blunt "you're wrong" is like throwing a stone at a fortress wall. It only hardens what it strikes. But acknowledgement first, disagreement second, that is a bridge, not a stone. It shows the other person you are not against them as a human being, only against the idea they have placed before you. You respect their voice, but you refuse to abandon your own. And this is the hidden truth. The calmer your disagreement, the more powerful it becomes. Anyone can blurt out, "You're wrong." That takes no discipline, no control. But to hold your ground without raising your blood pressure, to disagree without dishonoring yourself or the other, that requires mastery. Mastery of mind, mastery of tongue, mastery of presence. Now imagine the ripple. In that boardroom, the others do not see rebellion. They do not see aggression. They see independence. They see someone thoughtful, someone unshaken, someone who cannot be bent by the winds of popularity. That image stays with them far longer than any raised voice could. You did not just challenge an idea. You revealed yourself as a person who stands alone if needed. This is Stoicism alive, the art of separating judgment from emotion, truth from pride. Epictetus taught, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgment about them." Here lies the secret. The plan on the table is not the storm. The storm is your ego demanding to be seen as right. But when you step back and say calmly, "I understand, but I disagree," you master the storm before it masters you. Consider another setting. Not a boardroom, but a dinner table. Family gathered. A relative offers an opinion that cuts at your choices, your values, your life. The blood rises quickly. You are tempted to counter with all the passion in your chest, yet you know, fire only feeds fire. So instead you say, "I hear your point." The sharpness softens, for you have recognized them. And then you follow with, "But I disagree." No malice, no mockery, only dignity. The conversation shifts. The table grows quiet, for respect has entered the room without being invited. The Stoics believed that control over the self is the only true power. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This phrase is that teaching in flesh and bone. You cannot control their opinion, but you can control your response. And in doing so, you reclaim authority. Let me tell you a small story. A friend once told me about a confrontation at work. His manager proposed a shortcut that would have broken the project entirely. Everyone else sat in silence, afraid to confront authority. My friend took a slow breath, then said, "I understand your point, but I disagree." He did not raise his tone. He did not rush his words, and the room grew still. Even the manager leaned back, surprised at the calm boldness. Later, many colleagues confided that they admired him for speaking up. What earned respect was not rebellion, but serenity. Not noise, but control. This is what most people miss. Respect is not wrestled from others. It is radiated from within. The calmer the disagreement, the more unshakable you appear. The louder the argument, the weaker you seem. Anyone can lose themselves in noise. Few can hold themselves in silence. Here is the paradox. The less you demand respect, the more people grant it to you, because respect is not submission, it is recognition, and recognition flows naturally toward the one who does not clamor for it. So carry this phrase with you into your next conflict, into your next heated moment, into your next test of dignity. Say it with calm, with clarity, with unshakable presence. "I understand your point, but I disagree." It may sound simple, but simplicity is what makes it unstoppable. And as we close this first chapter, remember, the one who controls his voice controls the room, and the one who controls his mind commands respect without ever asking. From here, let us step deeper toward a phrase even shorter, yet sharp enough to silence disrespect before it takes root. There comes a moment when silence betrays you. You sit among friends, colleagues, or even family, and a joke slices through the air. Crude, offensive, wrapped in the disguise of humor. Faces turn, laughter ripples, and all eyes glance at you for approval. That small nod, that nervous chuckle, is what most people offer. And in that fragile instant, they hand away something precious. They whisper without words, "It is acceptable to disrespect me." But imagine a different response. The room hums with noise, yet you remain still. Your eyes are steady, your breathing unhurried. You look directly at the one who crossed the line, and without raising your voice, you speak the 5 words that cut sharper than any rebuke. "I don't find that appropriate." The air tightens. The laughter stumbles and falls into silence. Something has shifted. because in that moment you revealed a truth many forget. Respect is not begged for, it is commanded by boundary. And boundary, when spoken with calm conviction, becomes immovable as stone. Seneca reminded us, "He who respects himself will be respected by others." These words are not an idea for the page. They are a sword you carry in the quiet battles of daily life. The battle is not with others. It is with yourself, with your fear of standing alone against the tide. When you draw that invisible line, you are not only protecting your dignity, you are teaching the world how you deserve to be treated. Think of the countless moments where people surrender. A colleague laughs nervously at a cruel comment. A friend stays silent as someone is mocked. A family member smiles politely when the conversation veers into disrespect. Each small surrender builds a habit, and each habit builds a life where your worth is traded for comfort. But when you say, "I don't find that appropriate," you refuse the trade. You announce, calmly but unmistakably, that your dignity is not for sale. Picture a dinner table. The story is light, the wine is poured, and then comes the joke, cutting, ugly, meant to humiliate someone not strong enough to defend themselves. Everyone expects you to play along. Instead, you pause. Your stillness is louder than laughter. Then, with a voice calm as water, you say, "I don't find that appropriate." That is the moment the current changes. The room sees you not as rigid, not as humorless, but as unshakable. A person who carries themselves with gravity, a person who cannot be moved by cheap approval. Here lies a deeper truth. When you hold the line, you give silent permission for others to hold theirs. Every room has people who feel uncomfortable yet swallow their words. Every room has witnesses afraid to confront disrespect. Your courage is their permission slip. By showing your calm defiance, you show them another way. The Stoics called dignity an invisible shield. It requires no weapon, no shouting, no defense. It simply radiates from those who refuse to step below their own standard. This phrase, short, sharp, unshaken, is the embodiment of that shield. It declares without anger that you will not participate in disrespect, even disguised as laughter. Epictetus once warned, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." People may bristle when you break the rhythm of the crowd. They may label you as difficult, as humorless, as too serious. Let them. Better to be thought humorless and remain whole than to be applauded for joining a chorus of contempt. Better to lose shallow approval than to erode your own self-respect. And here is the paradox. The moment you set the boundary, the very ones who mocked you will, in time, respect you more. Because respect flows not from pleasing the crowd, but from refusing to betray yourself. Dignity is contagious. It forces others to re-evaluate their own standards. Your calm strength unsettles them, but it also anchors them. Let us widen the lens. Imagine the workplace, a team gathered, tension thick. Someone throws a biting comment across the table. Most people laugh, not because it is funny, but because silence feels unsafe. In that moment, the tide seems unstoppable, until one voice says clearly, "I don't find that appropriate." That voice becomes a rock in the stream. The water splits around it. The current is forced to bend. That is the power of 5 words, delivered with calm certainty. Do not mistake this for aggression. There is no anger in the phrase, no lecture, no sermon, only clarity. The power lies in what you refuse to carry. You refuse to carry the false weight of laughter that betrays your values. You refuse to carry the shame of silence that allows disrespect to grow. And by refusing, you rise. This is why the Stoics saw power not in force, but in restraint. True power is not loud. It is the ability to stand unmoved while others try to shake you. It is the quiet conviction that radiates from the soul of someone who knows their own worth. When you declare, "I don't find that appropriate," you are not fighting fire with fire. You are refusing to fuel the flame. And so the lesson is this: dignity is not given, it is lived. If you laugh at what you know is wrong, you erode yourself. If you stay silent when the line is crossed, you permit the crossing. But if you stand tall, calm, unwavering, and you speak the words, "I don't find that appropriate," you turn storms into silence, you turn rooms into witnesses, and you turn yourself into someone unshakable. As we close this chapter, let the truth settle deep. 5 words, steady and simple, can silence disrespect before it takes root. Carry them with you, because the one who commands their own dignity becomes a mirror where others see their own weakness. And from here, we advance toward another phrase, one that does not just end storms, but reshapes the very rules of the conversation itself. There are moments when words lose their shape. A conversation, once meant for understanding, mutates into something darker, voices climbing over one another, interruptions slicing through the air, every sentence sharpened into a weapon. The air grows heavy, your chest tightens, and the thought creeps in. This is no longer dialogue, this is battle. And here most people make the same mistake. They either fight back with equal fire, hoping to drown the other in noise, or they fold into silence, carrying the weight of defeat inside. Both paths leave scars, neither leads to respect. Now imagine another way, the Stoic way. You pause, you breathe, and as the storm rages around you, you hold still. Your words are not thunder, not lightning, but something far greater, calm authority. You say, with a voice that neither shakes nor bends, "Let's talk when we can do so respectfully." 5 words, plain, measured, yet they slice through the chaos more effectively than any shout. The effect is immediate. The fire loses its oxygen. The storm, robbed of your reaction, begins to crumble. Because you have shifted the rules of the game, you refuse to play on the ground of disrespect. You draw the field onto higher ground, where only clarity and composure exist. And in doing so, control is no longer theirs. It belongs to you. Picture it. A co-worker cuts you off, their voice sharp, trying to dominate the room. The old response would be to raise your tone, to insist, to demand the right to finish. But instead, you let the interruption hang in the air. Then, evenly, you say, "Let's talk when we can do so respectfully." Silence follows, not because you forced it, but because you declared without fear, "I will not be dragged into a mud fight. I will not stain my dignity for the sake of winning noise." Epictetus taught, "You cannot control the actions of others, but you can control your response." And this phrase is that wisdom alive, breathing in the middle of conflict. You cannot control their tone, their interruptions, their attempt to overwhelm, but you can choose not to dignify it with your energy. You can protect your peace, guard your dignity, and by doing so, force the other person to look at themselves in the mirror of your calm refusal. Here's the secret. When you demand respect, not through aggression but through calm boundaries, people listen more closely. Your words weigh more because they are not spilled carelessly into the storm. They are delivered with precision, carried by composure. The first time you use this phrase, you will see it, the sudden quiet, the subtle shift of energy. Your voice will carry more authority than all the shouting combined, and this is not weakness. It is mastery. Because strength does not reveal itself in volume, it reveals itself in composure. Anyone can shout. Anyone can fill the air with words. But to be the calm center of a storm, to stand firm without fire, that is rare. That is what earns respect in the eyes of others. Think of the deeper truth behind this phrase. By refusing to fight on disrespectful terms, you are not retreating, you are leading. You are saying, I will talk. I am not afraid of dialogue, but only when respect is the currency we trade in. That is leadership disguised as restraint. That is strength disguised as silence. Consider the story of a leader in crisis. The meeting has devolved. Voices clash, tempers flare, and the project at hand is lost in the noise. Everyone waits for the leader to strike back, to dominate by sheer force. But instead, they raise a hand gently and say, let's talk when we can do so respectfully. The room freezes. The storm collapses in on itself. And respect floods in, not because authority was demanded, but because it was embodied. Later, people remember not the noise of the meeting, but the calm that ended it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." But silence here is not absence. It is presence refined. It is silence that speaks louder than aggression. This phrase is that silence given form. It is the art of stepping away without running, of pausing without surrendering. So carry this phrase with you into the next storm, into the next heated exchange where voices clash and chaos threatens to pull you in. When the storm rises, do not add thunder to thunder. Be the still mountain in the storm. Say calmly, firmly, let's talk when we can do so respectfully. And then hold. Because you are not walking away in fear. You are walking away in control. You are not avoiding the fight. You are setting the terms. And that is how respect is won, not by crushing others, but by mastering yourself. And from here, the path does not end. For there are times when words themselves must cease, when the wisest move is to close the door on the conversation altogether. And that leads us into the next chapter. There comes a time when a conversation unmasks itself. It no longer serves truth. It no longer builds understanding. Instead, it becomes a contest, sharp and endless, where words are hurled like stones. You feel it in the air. The other person is not here for clarity. They are here for victory. They are not seeking resolution. They are seeking domination. And in that moment, you must choose. Most people stumble. They argue longer. They raise their voices higher. They tell themselves that if they just explain one more time, the other will understand. But the truth is this: the other person does not want to understand. They want to drain you, to pull you into their chaos, to trap you in an arena where your dignity is slowly eroded with every wasted word. I have seen people lose themselves in that trap. They burn whole nights defending their point. They lose sleep replaying arguments in their mind. They waste days trying to prove what never needed proving. And in the end, they are not respected for their persistence. They are pitied for their exhaustion. But your path can be different. You pause, you breathe, and you let your composure carry the weight your anger never could. You say, calmly and without apology, "I'd prefer not to continue this conversation." Those words are not weakness, they are a gate. With them, you close the door not out of fear, but out of strength, because strength is not measured by how long you can stay inside chaos. It is measured by how quickly you can protect your peace. Picture it clearly. Someone keeps circling the same argument, poking at you with the same words, the same tone. It is not dialogue, it is provocation. The trap tightens, daring you to bite. Instead, you smile slightly, steady your tone and say, "I'd prefer not to continue this conversation." Suddenly, the air changes. The tension cracks because you chose clarity over entanglement. You chose yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." That wisdom lives in this phrase. They expect you to mirror their anger. They expect you to raise your voice, but you refuse to become their reflection. You refuse to let them write your script. And so, you walk away with your dignity intact, while they are left with nothing but their noise. Here is the truth most never grasp. Walking away does not mean you lost. It means you saw the battle for what it was, meaningless. It means you valued your time more than their need for control. It means you honored your spirit more than their thirst for dominance. Epictetus warned that it is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. The argument itself has no power until you decide to grant it power. By choosing to end it, you reclaim the authority that was always yours. Let me tell you a story. A man once told me about his colleague who thrived on conflict. Every meeting, every discussion, the colleague would provoke him, cutting him off, mocking his suggestions, circling like a predator hungry for reaction. For years, he argued back, thinking if he just pushed harder, he would win respect. But the harder he argued, the more he lost himself. Until one day, he tried something new. In the middle of another petty provocation, he looked his colleague in the eye and said quietly, "I'd prefer not to continue this conversation." Then he fell silent. The room froze. The colleague stumbled, unprepared for resistance without fire. That day, the dynamic shifted forever. Respect was not won through victory. It was won through restraint. Seneca once wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it." How much of your life has been wasted on arguments that yielded nothing? How many hours have been traded for the illusion of winning when winning itself was meaningless? Every argument you walk away from is not a loss, it is a reclaiming. You gain back the time, the energy, the peace that would otherwise be consumed by someone else's chaos. We must understand this. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some battles exist only to keep you trapped. Some conversations are not conversations at all. They are cages. And dignity means knowing when to walk away from the cage, leaving the door swinging behind you. Think of the cost of always staying, the raised voice, the pounding heart, the sleepless night. Think of the toll it takes, not only on your body, but on your spirit. Now think of the power of leaving, the stillness of silence, the clarity of choosing peace, the respect you earn, not from others, but from yourself. The world may tell you that quitting an argument is cowardice. But the Stoics knew better. Cowardice is surrendering your soul to someone else's noise. Courage is preserving your calm when provocation surrounds you. The bravest act is to walk away unbroken, to carry your silence like armor, and to let your dignity speak louder than your tongue. So remember this phrase, carry it like a key. Use it the next time the same trap appears, the next time someone circles you with endless provocation. Stand tall, speak calm. Say, "I'd prefer not to continue this conversation," and walk away free. Because sometimes the strongest word is not the one that continues the dialogue, it is the one that ends it. And from here, we step into the final chapter. A phrase that respects the opinions of others, yet declares your independence with unshakable clarity. There is a quiet kind of chain that is heavier than iron. It is the chain of other people's opinions. In today's world, everyone has something to say about how you should live, how you should work, how you should love. And often those opinions arrive not as suggestions, but as demands. They press against your freedom. They push against your clarity. And if you are not careful, you find yourself nodding along, pretending to agree simply to keep the peace. Or worse, you fight burning hours, draining your energy in endless debates that prove nothing. But the Stoic path offers another way. You listen, you acknowledge, and then you calmly declare your independence. You say, "That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it." It is firm without being hostile. It is polite without being submissive. It carries a balance that most people never master. It tells the world, "I can honor your right to speak without surrendering my right to think." Now imagine this. A colleague insists you adopt their method, claiming it is the only way. The pressure builds. The room watches. You could argue, turning the meeting into a battlefield. You could yield, betraying your own judgment for the sake of approval. Or you could pause, take a steady breath and say, "That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it." The tension breaks. The trap collapses, because you have refused to be forced into either submission or war. You stand instead in the space of calm clarity. Seneca once warned, "Being a slave to the opinions of others is the worst of prisons." This phrase is your key out of that cell. It unlocks the door to freedom, reminding you that you can respect someone else without abandoning yourself. You can give acknowledgement without giving away sovereignty. Consider the family table. A relative presses their beliefs on you about faith, about choices, about how life should be lived. The old habit would be to bend, to smile, to nod, simply to keep the atmosphere light, or to fight, turning dinner into a battlefield of raised voices. But instead, you choose dignity. You look them in the eye and say, "That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it." There is no fight. There is no surrender. There is only balance, and balance is where respect lives. Here lies the deeper truth. People may not agree with you. They may not even like your stance, but they will respect the courage it takes to stand calmly, gracefully, unapologetically. Strength is not found in crushing other opinions. Strength is found in carrying your own with dignity. Think of the countless small battles of modern life. Social media, where opinions crash like waves in a storm. It is easy to drown in endless debates, to waste hours defending yourself against strangers who do not matter. But one simple line, "I respect your view, but I don't share it," ends the fight before it begins. You walk away lighter, stronger, untangled from the noise. Or think of strangers, the rude comment in passing, the pushy salesperson who insists you must buy, the manipulative acquaintance who tries to push past your boundaries. Most expect anger, most expect surrender, but when you meet them with calm firmness, with the balance of respect and independence, you show them something rare. You show them, "You do not control me, I control me." Every day, life offers these tests. 1,000 small moments where respect can be lost or earned. And these phrases are not just words, they are armor. They protect your peace, your dignity, your inner strength. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Each time you say, "That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it," you practice that wisdom. You reclaim authority over your mind. You remind yourself that only when you hold your ground within can the world reflect that strength back to you. Notice the pattern. Each of these Stoic phrases shares 3 qualities. First, they separate emotion from reaction. You do not fight fire with fire. You respond with clarity. Second, they establish boundaries. With a few words, you silently teach others how to treat you. Third, they project self-respect. And when self-respect radiates, external respect follows. And here is the paradox. The less you try to force respect, the more people give it to you. The more you demand respect with volume, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you carry yourself with calm strength, people have no choice but to recognize it. So, how do you use this in the real world? At work, in endless meetings, when discussions spiral into noise, choose firm words instead of passive silence. You will be seen not as timid, but as reliable, steady, unshaken. In relationships where love can only survive with boundaries, use these phrases to remind your partner, I value us, but I also value myself. That balance protects both dignity and connection. On social media, when debates pull you into hours of wasted energy, use this phrase to cut the chain and walk away untangled. With strangers, when disrespect tries to creep in, stand calm and let them feel the quiet wall of your composure. These words are more than responses. They are philosophy in practice. They are the embodiment of Stoic teaching, where power is not noise but mastery of self. So carry them, speak them. Let the world see in you a person who cannot be forced, who cannot be broken, who will not surrender dignity for approval. Because in the end, respect is not demanded, it is commanded. And so when the pressure comes, when the voices push, when the chains of opinion tighten around you, stand tall, look them in the eye and say, that's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. Respectful, independent, unshakable. Simple words, spoken with calm conviction, can carry more weight than any raised voice. These 5 phrases are more than clever sentences. They are a code for self-respect, a daily armor that cannot be stripped away by noise or manipulation. Respect is never forced. It grows when your character stands firm. It deepens when you speak with clarity, composure, and quiet strength. People listen differently when you carry yourself this way. They measure their words around you. They begin to treat you not because you demand it, but because you embody it. So here is the invitation. Do not just let these phrases remain as ideas in your mind. Choose one and carry it into your life this week. Test it in a conversation. Try it in a moment of pressure. Watch how the energy shifts when you protect your dignity without raising your voice. And then come back and share your pledge in the comments with just 2 words. Choose respect. If this reflection has given you something to hold on to, I encourage you to subscribe so you can continue walking this path with us. Your presence here matters. Every step you take toward calm strength and clear boundaries makes you an example for others who are still searching for theirs. You become a quiet reminder that composure is not weakness, it is mastery. Remember this truth as you go forward. The world bends more easily to the person who is unshaken within. Stay grounded. Stay steady. Carry yourself with dignity in every space you enter. In the next video, we will go even deeper into the art of commanding presence without force. Until then, keep your calm as your shield, and let your words become the quiet fire that lights the way.